Hello everybody, welcome to the Crumbs and Doilies kitchen here in London. I've got my clipboard. That means only one thing. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Dane and I asked you guys, what is going on with your cookies? We want to know what your troubles are, what you're finding difficult, why your cookies are not coming out perfect. I mean, most of them are, but you know, sometimes we get questions from you guys over on Instagram, so we thought we'd dedicate a whole video to it, right? Yeah, definitely. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we've got a whole NYC cookie playlist over on the YouTube channel. So go and check that out, and this is probably not the first video you've watched, so you may as well like and subscribe. It's just there, so yeah. What's not to like? Exactly. Cool, so what we're gonna do, we thought the best thing to do would be to run through our very classic choc chip New York style cookie recipe, answering your questions along the way, right? Yeah. All right, let's do this. So, okay. First things first is butter. Oh, good, because I've got a question already. Oh, okay. Go for it. Okie dokie. So Tamajin asked, and got loads of thumbs up on this one, can you tell us a bit more about the butter that Crumbs and Doilies use, and how does that actually affect the kind of quality of the cookie? Well, it's very important. It's the first and probably one of the most important ingredients. Here at C&D we use Lescure butter. It's French, it's really high quality, and it's got a really high fat content, which is super important in these cookies, which means it stays nice and cold for as long as possible. Yes. But we did actually go to the store because, I mean, I've never seen a plaque of butter. No, like that's really unique. But lucky for you guys, you can get like 82% fat content butters in like all supermarkets, and they all work really well. We tested loads. We did like own brands, we did a few branded ones as well, and they all work perfectly. The most important thing is that it stays cold, which means you absolutely cannot be using margarine. Oh. Don't do it, don't do it. Don't even say the word. It's not butter. Even if it's got some butter in it, it's going to be like packed with things like olive oil. Maybe. Some have got olive oil in it. And buttermilk and stuff, because they are designed to be soft at room temperature, which is the opposite of what we're trying to do here. We want to keep this as cold as possible all the way through. Yes. So, top tip for keeping it cold. Keep it in the fridge. If you get distracted, just pop it back in the fridge. And we've already got some chopped here. So you want to chop it up, put it back in the fridge so that they're really like cold, hard little cubes. There we go. Super hard. And he's using all of my muscle. Get it in the mixer. Okay, it's going in. So once that's in, it is time to straight away add our next ingredient, which is sugar. And we use two different types of sugar in our cookie recipe. Soft light brown, which is this stuff, and we've got caster sugar as well. Cool, so before we get on with the types of sugar, Stephanie wanted to, this isn't going to go down well with you, okay? Stephanie wanted to know, what can you do to reduce the sweetness in our cookies? Well, Stephanie, cookies are sweet and they're going to stay that way because the sugar is super important, especially in this recipe. It accumulates to the structure and the way that these cookies bake. So you want to keep all of the sugar. There are a few things that we can do, like, because we get it, not everyone's got as sweet a tooth as we have, or like the rest of the gang here at Crumbs and Doilies, we're like sugar addicts. So a few things that you could do, you could up the salt content maybe. Yeah, get that salty kind of sweet vibe going on, that'd be really nice. Yeah, or you could remove the vanilla if the recipe says vanilla, because that's quite sweet as well. It is, or you could change up the chocolate chips, use something like a 70%, so it's a little bit more bitter in there. Yeah. But essentially, no. Sugar is important. Sugar is really important. So like Dane mentioned, we have got two types of sugar going in. They both do different things. All sugars do different kind of things. So we've got caster sugar, which gives you the sweetness, and then we've got soft light brown sugar, which is a bit kind of stickier. Gives you a more kind of chewy, caramelly flavour. Yeah, caramel flavour, chewy texture. Which leads us on to Milena's question, which is why does the sugar remain grainy and crunchy once my cookies are baked? That's a good one. Well, Milena, I'd probably first ask which sugar are you using, and is it one of these? Because there's lots of different types of sugars, and they all look very similar to these. Yes, if we head over here, we actually wanted to show you guys, because we do get it. So this is caster sugar, this is what we want you to use. Look how soft and fine it is. And then let's jump over here. This is granulated sugar. So it looks pretty similar, but you can just see how much thicker it is, right? It's much coarser. And the same with our soft brown sugars. We've got soft light brown sugar, which is what we use here, lovely and soft and fine. And then we've got a dark brown sugar, which is super coarse and thick, and also a demerara sugar, which looks like light brown sugar, but it's just too thick, right? Too thick. Yeah, because when we're mixing this, you're going to see we do not want to overmix, because overmix
leads to not good cookies. We'll show you what they're going to look like later. But basically, we're not giving the chance for the sugar to dissolve at all. So if you're using one of these thick, coarse sugars, they're just going to remain that way even when they've baked.
Yeah, definitely.
Right,
we'll
let's
get
it
these
in.
And we'll start mixing if you don't have any more sugar-related
questions.
questions.
No, I don't, but I do have a mixing question, and that is, how long do we mix each stage for?
That's a good question. So I think in every video, we pretty much always say around 30 to 40 seconds, right? But our videos are edited down, and something that might take us 1 minute on screen might take you 3 minutes in real life. So it's important to really pay attention to the consistency of your dough, and we'll show you what that looks like when we get it mixing. Cool,
so we're gonna get this mixing on a kind of slow speed, and we're gonna look for these buttery, sugary nuggets. Sounds weird, right? We'll show you.
So indeed, this has been mixing for about 40 seconds, and as promised, this is what it looks like.
Yeah, so you can see there's all different size blobs of butter going on here. They haven't kind of creamed together like you would a cake kind of batter.
Yeah.
And all we can explain it is buttery, sugary nuggets. They're all different sizes. You want it to be chunky because the chunkiness leads to the kind of chunky cookie result that we're looking for.
Yes.
So what happens next?
Well, we've got our additions. These are chocolate chip cookies, so we've got 2 types of chocolate.
Cool. Right. Good, because Frida wants to know, can you leave an addition ingredient out, or do you have to replace it?
Well, Frida, I don't know why you'd want to leave chocolate out of cookies, because it's essential and they'd be pretty boring. Yeah.
To life itself.
But we understand you might not like chocolate, or you might be allergic to like nuts or something, or you might not like dried fruit. So you can definitely leave any of those additions out. It just means that you'll have a little bit less dough to work with.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about replacing or changing, substituting those additions, then make sure you focus on the volume and not the weight, because something like freeze-dried raspberries is super light. So if you had 400 grams of that, it'd be all raspberry, no dough. So make sure
probably cost you an arm and a leg as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Alrighty, good.
Cool. So these are going in. We've got 54% and some milk chocolate here as well.
My favourite. So we're going to mix those through again on a low speed, and this time it's probably like 20-30 seconds just to kind of distribute the chocolate around those buttery, sugary, nuggety bits.
Yes.
Okay, next question from Hala.
Hello.
Wants to know if she wants to make more than one batch, is it just a case of doubling all the ingredients?
It is. So this recipe is pretty forgiving, and if you double it, it won't have an effect on the bake or the quality of the cookies.
Yes, the only thing you want to watch out for is the standard of your mixer.
Yeah.
Because the dough can be quite heavy, so if you're putting 2 lots in there, you just want to make sure that your mixer can handle it, because we really don't want to be receiving your bills for broken mixers.
No way. Might be coming out of here.
Yeah. But doubling it, just double everything. If you want to half it and just make 6 cookies, which is bizarre, I don't know why you'd ever want to do that, but you just half all the ingredients. It's as easy as that.
Yes.
So next up.
Next is our dry ingredients. We've got flour, and we've got salt and baking powder.
Yes, so this is great because we've got quite a lot of flour related questions.
Okay.
Sorry. And the first one is from Divya, and Divya wants to know, if I run out of self-raising flour, because we use a lot of self-raising flour in our recipes, can you substitute it for all plain flour, and if so, how much raising agent do you need to add?
You can indeed. Well, we did a little experiment with that. Sally's going to go and get them, and you'll see what they came out like. We kind of made our own self-raising flour. Cookie, yes, there's lots.
So here you can see that we made our own self-raising flour in a recipe that normally uses half plain, half self-raising, and look, they look great.
Exactly the same, right?
Yeah, they look perfect. So the answer to your question is yes. And what's the rule? Did you say the rule?
So yeah, the rule is for every 150 grams of plain flour, you want to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So we essentially made our own self-raising.
Yeah, perfect. And because I just said, like, sometimes we use a mixture of self-raising and plain,
Yeah.
Lola noticed this and she wanted to know, does this actually make a difference?
It does, yes.
Yes, definitely.
Depends on the recipe, especially for us. In our red velvet recipe, it's got a little bit more liquid with the food colouring and the amount of vanilla. So we played around with that, and we tend to use all plain flour in that. It just has higher gluten content, and the structure is a lot stronger.
Yes, it is exactly that. Plain flour is nice and structured. So if you've got a kind of sticky, spready one, then you want to go with plain. Anyway,
let's get
cool.
this in.
Let's get that in there. Now, I know we're not making chocolate cookies or anything, but CM, Magical Mysterious CM, wanted to know, do we use Dutch processed or natural cocoa powder when we do make chocolate cookies?
Good question. There are two different types out there, and we use the Dutch processed, which is this one here.
As you can see, it looks a lot nicer, right?
Yeah.
It looks intense.
A lot darker, it's a lot richer in flavour.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make something super chocolatey, you want to use this one because you're going to use a lot less as well to get that super chocolatey flavour.
Yeah, you'd probably have to use a lot of this one to get the kind of intensity of the Dutch process. So yeah, we do use that, and you can find it relatively easily, especially if you look online. Yeah. Get yourself a massive bag of it, and then, then you'll never run out. Alrighty, so let's mix this.
Yes.
And what are we looking for now?
Well, again, we're mixing on a low speed, and we're looking for kind of an irregular sandy rubble mixture. Nothing's creamed or mixed together yet. Fab.
Looking good.
Looking good. And again, we'll show you what this looks like. So, it's a really dry, sandy consistency. You've got those bits of butter in there that are still quite firm, the chocolate chips, the sugar, and you can't even see the sugar because it's so fine.
Yeah, and actually quite a lot of people asked about the fact that they still had lumps of butter at this stage, and that is exactly what you want, right? Because that is how we get our chunky cookies.
Yes.
So now we've got our kind of rubble, we need to bind it together, right?
Yeah, using some eggs.
Yes, which is great because Maeve wanted to know that, well, she mentioned sometimes when she adds her egg to bind the mixture, it's still crumbly.
Oh,
what should she do?
Well, Maeve, the answer is just add a little bit more egg.
Yes, because eggs come in all shapes and sizes, right? Like, look at these two. They're pretty obviously different in size, and these came from the same packet of eggs.
Yeah.
And we use large eggs here, but even a large egg can range between like 63 and 73 grams, or something
definitely.
like that. And a medium egg is a lot smaller too.
Yeah.
So add more egg. So what we would say is have a little emergency egg on standby. Standby egg.
Standby egg.
And then once you've added your 2 eggs, or however many your recipe asks for, we can then look at it and see if it needs more. And we'll show you what it needs to look like. And if yours looks a little bit drier, then go ahead and add a wee bit more egg at a time.
Yes. This is nearly there.
Yes, this is looking good. So let's just come and have a little look, and you can see what we mean by it's not dry, okay? So it's still quite crumbly, hey? But it's not dry. You can't see any actual bits of flour in there, right? So how do we know when this is ready?
So we know when it's ready when, as Sally said, it's a little bit crumbly, and also it's starting to come away from the sides of the bowl nice and cleanly. So this needs a few more seconds.
Okay. All right, so what it hasn't done is it hasn't formed a dough, right? It hasn't come together in one big ball. And that's really important because this is one of the top questions that you guys had, and that is, why are my cookies spreading?
Wow, it's all down to this stage, over mixing the batter.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's something you don't want to do. And we did another experiment showing you what will happen if you did overmix your dough.
And you can see we basically mixed these for just an extra minute, and you can see if I bring on some of our #1 cookies, this is what we want them to look like, and this is what happens when you overmix them. So they've kind of flattened, they're probably not as gooey inside either because they're thinner, and they haven't got that gorgeous knobbly, bobbly, chunky exterior that we want.
Yeah, this is kind of cracked, almost like a dry desert kind of appearance.
A dry desert. No one wants a dry desert cookie. So when you mix your batter, you want to make sure that it hasn't all come together into one big blob of a dough.
Yes.
And now it's fun time.
Time for the balling stage.
Balling stage.
So we're going to whack it all onto the surface as per usual. There we go.
When the guys make cookies here, they use the massive mixers and they pour it out, and
Table
it's like,
is full of dough.
You can just like have a little swim in there. Sneak a bit in your mouth. We don't do that. Alrighty, So let's talk about the balling. So we like
Yeah.
to do 125 gram balls, right?
We do, we do.
And Dane's going to demonstrate his clunk clunk, because one of the best things about our cookies, we think, is the fact that they look so chunky and irregular and gorgeous, and a lot of that is down to the kind of squishy clunkiness that we roll our balls in. So go on then, show everyone what you do.
This is exactly 125.
Well done.
Thank you. And you can see when I put it on the scales, it's not even, you know, you can still kind of tear it apart, which is super important because we're gonna clunk it together right now. So I've just kind of pressed it a little bit with a firm press. I tend to describe it, as Sally says, as a clunk, clunk.
Done. Look at that.
Done. It's firm, but it still has that knobbly appearance. What you don't want to do
Oh, yes, let's have a look at this.
with your dough is this. So you don't want to grab it, keep scrunching it like this, or roll it into a smooth ball. You can see the difference here.
You can, and you can see the difference not just there, but in the cookies. So these have been over-rolled, and they were really nice and smooth like that, and these are the Dane Clunk Clunk. And you can just see like how kind of smooth, and again, they've flattened out a lot as well. They haven't remained nice and chubby.
They haven't.
And we want chubby cookies. Cool, so question from Nina.
Okay, Nina.
All right, so we like 125 gram balls, right? But
Yeah.
Nina wants to know if she wants a smaller ball, something around, I don't know, 57 grams?
Oh, very precise.
Very precise.
I like that.
Would she be reducing the oven temperature and or the bake time?
You've got it pretty much spot on. You only need to change one of those elements, and that is the baking time. So, I've put some down, but you can rest that in there if you want.
Lucky for you, Nina. We baked you some of your very own 57 gram cookie balls.
Super cute.
Oh, they are so cute. I mean, I don't really know why you'd want a small cookie when you could have a big cookie, but...
That's one mouthful, Nina.
It's one of your mouthfuls.
Yeah.
We'll test it later. So we did some 57 grams, some 80 grams, and some 100 grams. And you can see down this side that we just had to reduce the bake time by a couple of minutes each time. So the little baby ones here, they were in for 12 minutes. So you want to leave the oven temperature exactly the same and just reduce the bake time.
Brilliant.
There we go.
Fabulous.
Fabulous indeed. So let's just crack on
with
and
balling.
let's just do a little bit of balling,
Okay.
shall we? Okay, I'm going to do the Dane Clunk Clunk. Here we go. Clunk. Clunk. Because another question we had from Eamon was if they want a more kind of flatter cookie, thinner cookie, is it just a case of using less dough?
Well, if you use less dough, you'll get less cookie.
Yeah, like Nina's little 57 gram cookies,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And again, we did a little experiment. We did, when we're at the balling stage, we squashed some
we kind of did
balls.
this.
Yeah.
So they were like this, because we thought, I wonder what happens if you squish them. Will they come out kind of thin? And they did, but where are they? Flat balls, that's what I called them. There you go. So they have baked a lot thinner. Again, let me get back one of ours. And they've got that kind of flat desert thing. Is that what you call dry desert?
Dry desert.
Dry desert look. So yeah, they have baked thinner, Eamon, but I think what you might be after is a thin, chewy cookie.
Totally different recipe, which maybe we should do one here on the channel. We've actually got a similar one, which is the trash can cookie. So go and check that out, and it will be kind of more similar to what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a time and a place for a thin, chewy cookie,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's just not this place.
No.
Okay, just give us 2 seconds to finish balling, and we'll crack on with the next stage.
Yes. Last one.
Ooh.
Perfect.
He's good. He's real good. So now what do we do once we've clunked all our balls?
Next stage is the freezing stage. We always freeze these cookies, and it's super important.
Yes, because what we want to get is a nice chunky cookie that remains chunky once it's baked, and that is because we've frozen it, right?
Yeah.
And this leads us on to a really top question that a lot of you have been asking us for ages about. And
So long.
that is, why have my cookies not spread? So we had the spreading situ, and now we've got the opposite, they're not spreading. And I think that your cookies probably look a little bit like this, right? They look more like kind of rock cakes or scones or something.
Yeah.
So this kind of stumped us for a little while, we're not gonna lie.
Yeah.
We'd played around with a lot of different things, with different ingredients, different bake times, different temperatures. We just couldn't get it, and then finally we twigged.
We did.
It's gotta be down to the freezer temperature, because just like an oven or a fridge, the freezers have different temperatures, and we tested this, didn't we?
We did. We all took a thermometer home and we put it in our freezer and measured them. Mine was at about -14, Sam's was like -17, and yours was a whopping like -24, which is super cold.
Like so cold. It's like 10 degrees different to Dane's here.
Yeah.
And obviously that's going to have an effect, which is obvious to us. Maybe not to you, we'll explain it, right? So if you've got a really super overly chilled ball, you're putting it into your hot oven. The really hot oven is going to cook the outside of your cookie first, because ovens cook from the outside in, not like a microwave, which does weird things.
Inside
Don't
out.
microwave
Yeah.
your cookies, or do and let us know what happens to them. Anyway, back on topic. Outside of your cookie is cooked first, straight away. It's got its real crispy, crusty coating to it before the inside has even had a chance to warm up, and therefore once it starts to cook, it's got nowhere to spread to because the shell has already formed.
Yes.
Therefore resulting in these, I mean, they're kind of cute, but they're
They
not. They're not what we want from a cookie.
No.
And this is fine if you can adjust the temperature of your freezer. So a freezer should generally be at -18. That's what we have all the crumbs ones set to. But my freezer I couldn't adjust at all. Yours did.
I can, yeah.
But his is a bit newer than mine. Mine's
Maybe.
a bit of an old school freezer. So I'm stuck, right? I'm stuck at -24 degrees. What do I do? We had some ideas about maybe you can thaw out the cookie ball a little bit, but
It didn't quite work,
it didn't
did it?
work, no. So then we actually tried and succeeded. What I did is I turned down my oven. So instead of baking at 180, I baked it at 170 just for a little bit longer. It was more like 18 to 19 minutes. So you just want to do a lower and slower bake. And they spread out, and it was like a revelation.
I know, when you messaged, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe what my eyes are seeing.
Big news, guys. So there we go. That's what you want to do if you're getting big old chunky cookies like this. Have a look at your oven temperature, your freezer temperature if you can. If you can't change it, then you want to reduce the bake temperature and increase the bake time.
Yeah. That's
So-
a really good,
Yeah,
I think we solved
I
it.
think we really did. Well done us. So
Yes.
shall we go bake some cookies? I'm going to go
Let's
to
do
the
that.
freezer.
Yeah.
And I'll meet you at the oven.
Okay, perfect.
I'm going to move this out of the way as well. Here we go.
So we've already got our baking tray in the oven. It's super hot. It's preheated to 180 degrees Celsius.
Yes. Oh.
Which brings us on to our next question. We've switched quizmasters here. Nathan asked, do you use fan-assisted ovens for all of your recipes?
Yes, we absolutely do. All our ovens at both bakeries here. I'm just going to make loads of cookies, okay? Everyone's hungry.
Yeah.
They're all fan assisted, but we do know that some people don't have a fan assisted oven. So there are a few things you can do.
Okay.
So the first thing would be to up the temperature by 20 degrees.
Yep.
And then you want to make sure that you preheat your oven enough. You want to do that anyway, right? But with a non-fan assisted oven, you haven't got the use of a fan to help circulate all the air.
Yeah.
And then from there, you just want to test like the hot spots in your oven. So most people want to bake in the middle,
Yeah.
but the best thing you do is grab an oven thermometer, right?
Yeah, they're
Go
super
with it.
cheap, and like this one, you can get it from CupcakeJemma.com, and with any oven that you've got, it's really helpful to test where the hot spots are and what your oven actually bakes at compared to what you set it on the dial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to bake these for 16 minutes. Have you got some quick fire questions in the meantime?
I do.
Okay, let's head
Let's
back
go.
over there. Ah!
Cool. Quick fire questions. Shruti asked, how long would these cookies keep for, and how do I store them to keep them at their best?
Okay, so cookies will keep for like, what, 3 to 4 days?
Yeah.
But the best thing about these cookies is that you can bake the amount that you need. They can stay in the freezer for like 3 months. Heaven knows how you can last
That's
3
just
months.
like a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Shruti, I don't know what you're playing at.
But if you do end up baking more than you actually eat, then yeah, store them in a Tupperware container,
Yeah.
somewhere nice and cool and dry. And also what you can do, a little top tip here, is you can put your cookie in an oven at 170 for 5 minutes just to warm it up so you have a warm gooey cookie whenever you want one.
Yeah, and you can do that from frozen as well.
Yes.
Best if you've got like a Biscoff or Nutella centre. Delicious.
Yeah, they've got to be gooey and oozy, man.
Yeah, of course.
Cool, next.
Next is Puppy Love, I love this name. Why do store-bought cookies last for months and months and months, whereas freshly baked cookies go stale after a few days?
Oh, I love this question. It's so cool because you're totally right, Puppy Love, if that is your real name. When you buy a packet of cookies, they've probably been in the store for weeks, maybe even months, and then they might be in the back of your cupboard for months, and they still remain crispy and fresh. Like, what gives,
What's
right?
going on? Yeah.
So basically, when you bake cookies or when we bake cookies or anything, we're using fresh ingredients, right? Like butter and eggs, which are perishable and they have a shelf life.
Yeah.
If you look, you go.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, if you look on the back of the packet of like store-bought cookies or biscuits, you might not find the same fresh ingredients. There might be something like vegetable oil in there or preservatives or stabilizers, which is designed to keep the product on the shelf for as long as possible before you guys buy it.
Yes. Cool, nice question.
Yeah. So moving on, Lizeth asked, when creating new cookie flavors, how do you come up with the ratios for the ingredients?
Yeah, Lizeth, it's like the most fun thing ever.
Yeah.
So come up with flavors. A lot of it comes down to just experience and learning about how different ingredients work. But essentially, if you've got your kind of base cookie recipe like we do, it's just about changing the additions and any kind of flavorings that you want to put in that's not going to affect the structure of the cookie.
Yeah, it's all about trial and error, and also write everything down.
Oh.
You don't want to do something, come up with something magical, and then you think, how many grams did I add of this? So go get yourself some really nice stationery, right? You love a bit of stationery. Maybe some colour pens, and stickers, highlighters, everything.
Yeah, the amount of times I forget to write stuff down and I'm so annoyed with myself all the time because I don't follow my own rules and advice. Yeah, so write everything down.
Yeah.
Even if it goes wrong, you want to know what went wrong. So top tip.
And keep just playing around. Keep playing around.
Yeah.
Cool. So Sarah asked, how do I know when my cookies are baked? As the cookies are always soft.
Well, Sarah, let's just wait for these cookies to bake, sorry.
And then we can show you.
Then we'll show you exactly what they need to look like when they're baked, because we get it. Sometimes they do look soft, but they will be soft when they come out the oven. Give us, 10 more minutes, and we're going to show you.
They're ready.
They are ready.
They smell really, really good.
They smell incredible. Oh, thank you. So, as you can see, these are really, really hard, but I'm going to give them a little poke. Come in nice and close. Can you see how that looks ridiculously soft?
Still super squishy.
Still super soft. But remember that things are going to firm as they cool down. Like, these are still super hot. They're going to kind of almost continue cooking, right? Because they're hot.
Yeah, the tray is hot.
Jinx. So what you want to look for, Sarah, is a nice golden brown crust on your cookies, just like these are here. If they aren't quite golden brown, you want to leave them in, but what you don't want to do is bake these, until these are like hard when they come out of the oven, because then when they gross, when they cool down, they'll be like biscuits.
They'll be crunchy.
We ain't
in
cooking
the wrong
biscuits.
Way.
We are baking cookies.
Yes.
Cool.
So that's how you know.
That is how you know.
But what if my cookies are burnt and you bake them at 180 degrees C?
Yes, good question. So a bit like earlier when we were talking about the oven thermometer, this is what you want to get. You really want to get one of these because whatever your oven says on the outside, it might be totally different on the inside. Like Dane baked some at 180 at your house.
I did.
I think he's got some.
I brought them in a Tupperware.
He's so cute. So
and they came out a little bit different too. My oven is super hot and you can see these are burnt, not what we're looking for.
So if yours are coming out like that and you don't have an oven thermometer, you just want to bake one cookie at a time, right? That's literally the best thing about these cookies is that you can take one out of the freezer, bake it, see what happens to it, and then you can adjust your bake time or your oven temperature until you've got the perfect looking cookie. And remember to write it down so that you know what you're doing next time.
Exactly, and test, I think you said test with an oven thermometer.
Yeah, if you've got one.
Yeah. But what about if the cookies are burnt underneath?
Yes, good. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a really good question because we tell you guys the best way to get a crispy bottom, because we want a crispy bottom, is to put your oven tray into the oven before we put the cookies in, because that way you get a nice heat coming from the bottom of your baking tray. But if you've got quite a thin baking tray, then the chances are you are going to get a burnt bum.
Mine was thin.
It's got a thin tray. So a few things that you can do. I mean, you can invest in a really nice high quality baking tray, or if you know they're burning, then maybe don't warm your tray up like we tend to do here.
Or if you don't want to buy another baking tray and you already have 2 that are probably the same size, pop them both together and you'll double up your trays. That means the heater will not get through to the cookies as quickly.
Because you've got like a thicker material for the heat to get through.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly. Well, we've only got one last question.
Oh my gosh,
before
I hope
we
it's
can
best
delve
to last.
in.
Yeah.
What is your most ultimate #1 cookie flavour?
Oh, okay.
You've only got one.
Ooh,
Go.
Double chocolate.
Oh, that's so good. That is a good one. I didn't think you were going to say that.
I know, but I love it. I love chocolate. Chocolate's my favourite thing in the whole world.
Okay, that's good.
And I love the double chocolate, particularly our one. Oh, because it's like the black cocoa. I just love it. It's like got a really lovely kind of bitter taste to it, so it's not too sweet, and I just love chocolate.
Nice.
What about you? Go.
Mine is the original chocolate and walnut, the milk chocolate and walnut that we first started with, because it reminds me of our love of cookies and takes us back to New York as well.
Oh.
Well, we wish we could go back.
Take us back to New York. Oh, one day really soon. We really, really hope.
Yes.
Oh, cool. So that's our questions done, but we can't get away with not answering all the questions there were about vegan cookies.
Yes, because there's been lots ever since we first started making this cookie.
Yeah, and we know a lot of you want to go try some vegan recipes, and don't worry, we have been doing it. And maybe you've come to C&D Soho and you've had our very first vegan cookie, which the guys here, Nikki and the gang, have been like trying loads of different recipes, and they cracked it, and they've done the most amazing double chocolate raspberry vegan cookie, and it is incredible.
It's so good. They're they're fudgy and intensely chocolatey.
Yeah.
Really good.
Really, really delicious. So if you're in Soho or you're coming to London, make sure you get one of those. You can order them from Crumbs and Doilies and Cupcake Jemma as well.
You can.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll bring
day.
you the recipe very soon.
We will, we promise.
We promise, we hereby promise to bring you a vegan cookie at some point in the nearish future. Cool.
But until then, we're just going to break open one of these.
I'm not going to break one of those. It's way too hot. Here, you can have that one.
Okay.
Okay, let's break this open just so you can see what we're talking about. In case you've never had one of these, you've got to have one of those, right?
You do, exactly.
Delicious. Cool, well thank you so much, and we really hope that we managed to answer all the questions that you guys have about cookies and baking. It's been really fun actually figuring out a lot of it as well.
Yeah.
So if you want to see more kind of like 101 masterclasses, then we do have a few up on the channel already. Like Gemma did a good cupcake one.
Yeah, there's a cake baking one as well.
And let us know if there's other things that you would like to delve deep into.
Yeah, and answer the whys and hows of baking.
Yeah, and we will do our very best to bring you some answers.
Yeah.
But we'll be back next week next Thursday coming up in a couple of days with a cupcake recipe. It is going to be for key lime pie cupcakes, and they are the bomb.
Don't miss it.
Thebomb.com, as Nikki likes to say. All right, guys, we'll see you really soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Ooh.